we've talked about money on previous episodes.
Yeah, it's important.
Money is important. How you steward your resources is really important. It's one of the first things I talk about when I'm dealing with a creator and have someone sitting in front of me that's an artist, an author, a musician, someone that's creating content for a living and wants to monetize that asset that they're creating and really build a business around it. And so what I love to do is I love to talk about structuring their financial systems.
Yeah.
And it's also been an interest of mine. I've been curious about how to manage money ever since I encountered Dave Ramsey, who's a local guy here in Nashville, built a massive business from Ramsey Solutions, but really just started as a radio show that got syndicated across the country.
Yeah.
And I've followed the Dave Ramsey model. When I moved into podcasting, Dave was definitely an inspiration for all of the things that I've done.
Like a lot of the call-in stuff and all that? Or?
Yeah, I love the call-in stuff.
Okay.
That's why I think we did that for Walker Stalkers.
Right.
We had people calling in to connect with celebrities. And so it's really important to make that connection. I think Dave does a great job of just in real time. And then the celebration of, being debt-free and doing the debt-free screen and those kinds of things. Like I would get goosebumps listening to other people, and I would want to be that person that would be debt-free, one day. And so it's very inspiring. But money is an interesting topic. And I just brought some points that I wanted to just talk about high level. And what I'd like to say is, I'm going to create a resource. Hopefully by the time this comes out, I want to create something inside of our members area that dives in deeper into these areas of money that I think every creator, foundations that every creator needs to take advantage of and implement in their business at some point or another. So the first thing I want to talk about is just straight up budgeting. And what the kind of budget that I like to recommend to my creative friends is a little bit different than the typical Dave Ramsey budget. What I call it a cash flow projection. And basically the very simple way that I have it set up is I like to set up my spreadsheet, and I have a template. That's one of the things I want to offer to the community is just a very simple template that you can copy, a Google spreadsheet that you can copy and make your own with all formulas in it, et cetera. So all you have to do is plug in your numbers and then you're off and running. And it has a business component to it and it has a personal component to it. So at the top is going to be your income from your business. And then at the bottom is going to be what your take-home pay is. So it does take some of the Ramsey philosophy, but it combines the two. And I like to make sure that for all of my businesses that I have an income and an expenses line item. The expenses are broken down into some of your normal things that you expect to be paying for as you're building your business, your monetization of your business from your creative concept and asset. And very simply, what I like to teach and set up for people is whatever, like if you, to the best of your ability, try to conservatively project your income that you're going to receive over the next 18 months. And I like to kind of look at 18 months in the future because it will really help you make better decisions as far as what you want to invest in, what expenses you want to incur when you can project your income and when you can project your expenses. So
what about like, so I know we're doing this for the creative who is maybe fluctuating, right? So what about someone like me who 1 month, my highest month is, a 5-figure plus month on YouTube revenue. And then my lowest is, let's say a couple thousand, right? So like that's a huge difference in number. How do I manage that with my projection? Do I just take the lowest number or like, what does that look like?
Well, I think you're always going to be safe if you project out your lowest number.
Yeah.
excuse me, if you project out your lowest number, you're never going to fail, because you're most likely going to grow from there, and you're going to have great months. The way I created this is every bit of my income is pretty, it flows differently, month upon month, week upon week.
Yeah.
And this spreadsheet actually breaks it down weekly. So what week number 1 looks like, what week number 2 looks like, et cetera. And I base it on past history. So I take a look at what last year's income was, and I plug those numbers in all the way in the forward, 18 months forward. So that would be 18 times 4 usually. So whatever number of weeks that's going to be, about 70 some odd weeks ahead.
Right.
And I literally project my cash flow out that far, and it's all based on a regular income. But I know there's patterns to your income. There's certain months of the year based on what you know. For you, it'd be like what you know about The Chosen and what biblical media, like you were saying, you're forecasting that it's going to be kind of a dry season coming up.
Yeah.
And because there's nothing new coming out for you to talk about.
Right.
And so typically in that season, you're seeing a dip in your revenue. So, but that's really helpful to project that out so that you can make decisions now about what you want to invest in, what you want to spend your money on, or what you want to create in order to offset some of that income.
Yeah.
You never want to go into this blind, or because the more facts that you can have, the more information you have about the future, the less fearful it is.
Right.
So for me, it's actually an anti-fear remedy to build out an 18-month cash flow schedule spreadsheet.
Right.
It's really simple, like because when you make a decision, let's say next week you're planning on buying something expensive, you can forecast out, if you want to live debt-free, you can forecast out what you need to project, or you incorporate savings numbers into that projection as well. So for me, it's always, and it's based on percentages. So for me, it's 10% savings. For every bit of income I get, I put 10% into a savings account.
Okay.
And so I can always pull money from that savings account for the weeks that I know I'm not going to have enough.
Okay, so a couple of questions. So why 18 months and not 12? And then why let's start there. Why 18 months and not 12?
Well, because your creative project typically will last 18 months. There's usually a cycle. It's not a typical 12-month cycle. It's usually an 18 months. And what I try to do, let's say you have a project coming out, or a music project or something coming out. It is reducing these days more than, people are basing things on. But let's just say you're writing a book, or you're planning on releasing a book.
Right.
Your book marketing cycle, your book sales cycle is usually 18 months is pretty much like the minimum. Yeah. And then after 18 months, you're starting to already write and concept out maybe your second book, or that kind of thing. So it's based on what the typical length of a project is, where creative might put some emphasis on a project. There's usually this nice bell curve that by the end of 18 months, it sort of swells down.
Right.
12 months is not enough usually for a project.
Okay.
To really have its full effect.
And then is there because I know some people that I know would basically take a certain amount of time, a week, and they'll do all this planning at one time. I know Daryl Eves takes the month of June or something, and every year he just plans out the next whatever amount of time. Do you have a specific time when you do this, or?
I always renew my spreadsheet in November and December. So right now I'm thinking about money a lot, because I'm projecting what all of 2026 is going to look like, and what the first 6 months of 2027 is going to look like.
And are you adjusting? Because I imagine, since you're doing this every year, but you're doing it at 18 months, you're adjusting what your goals were and where you are, and kind of analyzing that and adjusting from there.
Yeah, that's about rhythms. For me, every Saturday morning, I dedicate to an hour to just kind of adjust my finances. Okay. So I'm looking at my cash flow spreadsheet. I'm looking at the income that came in from my bank accounts, and are they and I'm readjusting them every single week. And I'm projecting out what things are going to look like. So it always changes. Like you just need to have a starting point, but literally every week, I hardly ever miss a week. If I do miss a week, I definitely won't miss 2 weeks because it's actually fun for me to kind of project out and sort of see what's coming up and what deals I made or what information has changed, or maybe I didn't make as much as I projected and I need to kind of downscale some things.
Yep.
So, but either way, I never want to be, for me, just having the knowledge, it's a little more control. It's a little less fear that I have about the future. For me, it's just it relieves me of fear and anxiety if I can have an honest, truthful conversation about what's real, like what really happened last week, what's really going to happen next week. So it's a lot less stressful to do it that way. So that's about a rhythm. And then monthly, probably I don't do anything different monthly, but definitely quarterly, I will do a more deep dive projection on all of my businesses and just make sure that I'm thinking a little bit more deeply about, long term, am I heading in the right direction with this business?
Right.
What's working, what's not? What bigger changes do I need to make? So that kind of happens quarterly. But usually November and December, I'm thinking more deeply about long-term projections.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about people like me who are like not spreadsheet people? Like, what do you think about that? And are there any tools that you would use in order to manage money and to like walk through this process makes it easier?
Well, is that working for you?
So I've relatively always been good with money. Like I don't spend a lot of money naturally in my life, outside the business, of course, like, and even in my business, I'm not like buying, infinite things. I'm buying what I need, and so.
But how do you know, like, you have enough money to pay for this or buy something? Like, how do you make decisions about money?
Yeah, I've always budgeted, but never on a spreadsheet for sure.
Okay, like, so what does that look like? What do you use for budgeting?
Yeah,
Just a piece of paper?
The last several years, we've used EveryDollar, which is like Dave Ramsey's app
program. Yeah,
but we've used Mundt and we've used a bunch of other stuff all throughout time. I like pen and paper, like just writing everything down. Yeah. But I'm definitely not like a spreadsheet guy in general. I just like, I'm logically thinking through, okay, we have this much money. This is what we need to spend on. Here's where we need to, save or whatever. Right. And so.
And that's worked for you. You and Vanessa have done a great job managing your resources.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you have to do this, but for me, it's not that complicated of a spreadsheet. Like once you understand it and how it works, and I'll probably do a deeper dive inside of our community. Okay. It's such a valuable resource. Like I think it would even help you guys to think through and project more long-term about your future. Yeah. With me having 3 kids and the more complicated my life gets, I have several businesses. It's a little easier when you have one income stream, but as you start to get more income streams and you start to get more bank accounts and you have more savings goals outside of your, you and your wife, for example, if you start to have more investments and all kinds of things, financial planning, it's really helpful to think this way with this cash flow spreadsheet.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the budgeting / cash flow. Like I don't do a budget anymore. I love the Ramsey method and EveryDollar. But because I have such irregular income, I found that it wasn't really working for me. Plus I also implemented a thing called Profit First, which I think I might've mentioned in an earlier episode of our podcast, but
I know you mentioned it to us. I don't know if you mentioned it on a podcast though.
Yeah. So Profit First really influenced me. It's a book by a guy named Michael Michalowicz, and Michael Michalowicz, I would say his main persona that he talks to, if we want to talk about in those terms, is small business owners, entrepreneurs that have maybe 1 or 2 income streams or different businesses that they want to manage. And Profit First just talks about breaking everything down into percentages. And for me, as a believer, I first and foremost give 10% off the top of every bit of income gross that I earn. So even my businesses, before any of my businesses like take any money, I have a percentage that I move into that I've set up a Fidelity giving account. So it's like an actual account that I use for all of our giving for our church or for, tithes, offerings, etc. I just straight up like put that money into that bank account, and that bank account funds our all of our giving.
Yeah, how we do it is we have in our bank account we use a cool bank that like splits it automatically when it comes in.
Yeah.
So you can set like percentages. So like no matter what my income is that comes in, there's always going to be 10% that goes to this.
Perfect.
25% to taxes or 30% to taxes, whatever it is.
That's a big reason. That you can make things work. If you have that system set up, dude, that's awesome. We should offline just kind of share about what banks we're using, because my bank does something similar. Maybe we're working the same thing, but so percentages is huge. So 10% off the top, and then my cash flow budget that I just mentioned is also structured this way. So everything is kind of organized so that it's pretty easy for me to just kind of manage by percentages, and that's why I can work on the formulas. And so I know that after the giving, 10% of my money goes into profit. So a profit bank account. Yeah. And that profit bank account is what I use for all of my investing.
Right.
So, you can start with 5%, 10%, 20%, 50%.
Right.
My goal one day is to be over 50% profit on all of my businesses if I can. And the same with giving. Like I want to give more, and I want to put more money into a profit account, which is really my investing account.
Right.
And that's a whole nother topic. I've been highly influenced by a guy named Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
And he wrote the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the Cashflow Quadrant.
Right.
And those books changed the way I think about money too. I don't know. Have you read them?
I haven't. I've heard a lot about him. He's kind of like the arch nemesis to Dave Ramsey, I feel like, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but they're very similar. They have a lot more in common. It's like different denominations in the church. They have the same principles in common, but it's just different ways of looking at them.
Okay.
So he's not as down about debt as Dave is.
Right.
But there's good debt and there's bad debt is what Robert talks about. But the philosophies, I think, are the same with whether you're Dave or you're Robert Kiyosaki, and that is there are 4 quadrants that you want to think about how money works. The first quadrant on the top left, think about a square that's broken into 4 parts. The first quadrant is going to be the employee, okay? Then below that is the self-employed person. To the right is the business owner, and so the top right is business owner, bottom right is the investor.
Okay.
You want to try to move your way of thinking and operating away from the employee mentality and the self-employed mentality, because you're trading your time for money in those places. In the business owner and investor, you're really making money work for you to give you more time freedom. And I really resonate with the whole time freedom aspect of things.
I do too. I mean, it's really the reason why I do things the way that I do them is because it gives me a lot more time to do what I want to do rather than anything else. In those quadrants, I'd probably put myself in, I'd see myself as a business owner.
Yeah, and that's where I try to steer people away from, because a lot of people are freelancers and they can't get past thinking about trading their time for money.
Yeah.
Like, pay me $100 and I'm going to make you a website or whatever it is. You want to move out of that employee, self-employed model as quickly as possible and really move into that business own, like creating systems that will pay you whether you're working or not.
Right.
And taking those resources that you're making from your business and then investing that money as much as you can into investments that will then come back to you so that you can, invest more of that money into creating a new business that will eventually repeat. You know what I mean? So it ends up being this wonderful circle that can really work for you. And now that, I'm 54 years old, I've been incorporating these systems, and I've seen for 20 years, I've seen how it's helped me.
Yeah.
It's helped me to develop more assets and reinvest those assets into more things that will hopefully reap us
Yeah.
more income. And also, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've misused things and have put them into things that were bad debt, for example. And so I've definitely learned the good, the bad, and the ugly of handling your finances and making your money. So I'm definitely not perfect in this, but
No.
I can speak from experience of what works for the entrepreneur. So I hope some of this conversation will begin to wet your whistle,
Yeah.
so that we can maybe dive deeper into the membership area and we can talk about these things a little bit more deeply and maybe
Give some more personal advice as
give
well.
some
Yeah.
personal advice, give feedback. I think that's one of the biggest benefits of
Yeah.
partnering with us and
Yeah.
going in and becoming a GodMade. What are we calling?
Yeah. GodMade creator. Yeah.
GodMade creator.
Yeah.
member.
I think to bring it back, I always like to bring it back to more of a practical sort of like thinking about the future of where people are at.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've got some people in here that are, they're creators, or they're in the creator space, or they're entrepreneurs, and they're wanting to continue to grow and they have something already. So let's take you're 22 years older than me. I'm 32. So what would you do if you were in my position for the next, 22 years? What would be the perfect sort of ideal path that you would put me on, seeing where I am right now? I'm literally days away from, by the time this comes out, I'll be a homeowner, which will be amazing.
Yes.
First time homeowner.
Another investment.
So, seeing where I am now, what would you tell me to do for the next 22 years in order to be where you would want to be?
Yeah. I mean, if I had to go back to 32, because that's kind of how old I was when I really got serious about this. At 33, the same age Jesus was when he passed away.
Yeah, yeah.
Or died, or before he was resurrected.
Yeah, there you go.
I always think about that because I started my mission work at 33. And that's when I started my first business. I got out of the employee model. So you're way ahead of the game. Like you've been out of that model for a long time.
Well, 3 years. Yeah.
I think we all, 3 years, but you have 3 years head start. I mean, you think of all that you've accomplished in 3 years.
Yeah.
So for me, if I were giving you advice, I would keep creating more revenue streams based on the assets that you have, which to me are the two assets that you have are the Chosen Sleuth and the Snipe Life.
Yeah.
Those are your two. And you're building a brand off of you're building those two brands. And what I would encourage you to do is keep living on less that you make, keep applying those same Dave Ramsey principles and spending less and less on your personal expenses and thinking about everything you are earning as investments. So keep building your business quadrant. Those are your two businesses. Keep finding ways to monetize those, keep developing and make those stronger and stronger so that they're earning more income.
Yeah.
So that you can take that income and invest more and give more. And that's what that's how I would be in general encouraging you is just finding more ways to invest those profits that you're making into more businesses or investing them into creating more income channels, income streams. So, right now I think you have 4 or 5 income streams. There are probably 4 or 5 more that I would really try to encourage you to maximize those.
Okay.
Some are going to be more than others. You probably have more that you can earn from the income channel, from the sponsorship channels of income streams. There are courses and curriculum and things like this Jumpstart. Content that I think you have in you, and I think you actually have a third. We have a third brand, which is the GodMade brand that we're creating.
Yeah.
So that we're all kind of sharing in together. That will be an asset that we're developing.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, if you keep doing that and keeping your head down, not overspending. Which I don't think that's your tendency anyway. You invest are very careful with your finances.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of just kind of being more diligent and more intentional about investing.
Yeah.
building those brands. So yeah, I think you're well on your way. You're way ahead of the game with what you're doing, where
Cool.
you're at.
I wasn't fishing for compliments, but
No, I wouldn't be working with you if I didn't think you were, smart and wise and making good decisions about your life. So I resonate with that. You inspire me just as much as hopefully I can inspire you.
yeah, absolutely.